Now, it was supposed to be a top-tier presidential intervention to try to broker a resolution to the political crisis in Rivers State, but it's ended up leaving many people in Rivers State so desperately unhappy and unsure of their political future that the plan seems destined to be disintegrated. And not just because of the number of people who reject it for not being fair to all the signatories to the deal, but as a result of the legal and constitutional violations that seem to be inherent within it. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the policy strategist, political commentator and group CEO of the global investment and trade company, Baba Yusuf, and by the journalist, political affairs commentator and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikokwu. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in. Let me come to you, Baba Yusuf, because we haven't heard from you with regard to this development in Rivers State. What do you make of what's been going on and what you've heard so far on the program?
It's a very sad episode in the political history of Nigeria, Charles, and unraveling more the kind of, for want of a better word, the rot, unraveling in the seats of power of Nigeria with regards to succession. But looking at it from another angle, I was thinking aloud today to say, you know what? This will further strengthen our democracy going forward. You know why? Because this particular situation has triggered what is called a Cobra effect. The action by Mr. President, which is laudable, albeit the way and manner it plays out, will trigger what we call in strategy a Cobra effect. And if I may read, a Cobra effect means there will be an unintended negative consequence of an incentive that was designed to improve society and individual. And the bric-a-brac about the unconstitutionality of how the agreement played out is what I'm talking about. While I reckon Mr. President wants to douse tension in Rivers with regards to what is going on. However, the way and manner will certainly play out with the Cobra effect, because the hue and cry with regards to the affront on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the rule of law and what will play out later is the issue. Now, when you look at the principal player this time around, Governor Fubara, reminds me of a quote from John F. Kennedy during his victory speech in 1961 when he said, "Those who foolishly sought power by riding the back of a tiger ended up inside the tiger." It appears to me the agreement that Mr. Fubara signs also confirms that, because the way it is now, Mr. Fubara, it presupposes, has agreed to that agreement, whether it is unconstitutional or not. And if you ask my opinion, we are just seeing one episode closing for another one to open. Most likely, Wike is going to go for Fubara. I don't see Fubara playing out this seat for the next 4 years with the way things are going. So, the way it is, sadly, this godfatherism and godson issue has moved from the First Republic, Second Republic situation of differences of ideology. If you look at the Chief Obafemi Awolowo versus Chief Ladoke Akintola of blessed memory, both of them ideological. If you look at late Malam Aminu Kano of PRP of blessed memory and late Alhaji Abubakar Rimi, ideological. Now, the 6 cycles of election from 1999 to date has shown that it's no longer an ideology issue. It's more or less some parochial interest issues and the issue of supremacy to continue having a stranglehold on the structure of the party in that state. But that also shows clearly that the political actors do not care about the electorate, do not care about the citizen. It's all about them and the largesse.
Well, let me come to you, Dr. Ikokwu, there, because there is the other side of the story where he says that he doesn't think that Mr. Fubara would probably last the full term, Governor Fubara, given the circumstances. But there's a saying that a madman has his wits about him, and Mr. Fubara may, and I'm just speculating, but he may have done what he did so that, because he was obviously under pressure with the president there, but I mean, he could be working from behind the scenes and getting people to go out there, for example, the PDP and all the rest of it, to go to court and try and establish a completely, the veracity of what has happened there. So the expectation is that there'll probably be a flurry of lawsuits that may eventually lead to the collapse of that agreement.
Yeah, very well so. When you think about it, you have to agree that what we're dealing with is very high-wired politics that is not for the faint-hearted. When you look at that video, that the convocation ceremony where Governor Fubara had said that there's no price, too little for paying for peace, that essentially saying that he was ready to do anything for peace. He looked so timid, beaten up, and subdued. And you then have to ask, why was he looking that way? And I'm going somewhere with this. Nigerian politics is rugged and rough. And you have a lot of sharks and whales and deep state and vested interests, that combine to hold the country down. And then you look at the background of Governor Fubara. He's someone that was plucked from relatively stable, predictable, quiet civil service type of job and slammed in the middle of turbulent waters of elected politics. And so here we are. You then have to ask the question, what is he going to do? There are two things. It's either he decides that I'm going to wake up, I want this very badly, and I'm going to do something about it. So he can decide, like you said, proper people follow the legal angle and pursue the cases, or accept, a truce that undercuts him, or at the end of the day, say, I've seen too much, I don't want this anymore, I'm going to throw in the towel completely. Rivers people have said, or seem to have said to him, move ahead, Governor, fight on because we support you, we are behind you. But the moves that he makes in the next couple of months or days or weeks, well, we will be saying days, will determine what he does. It will then say whether there is that tiger in him that is coming out and charging, whether indirectly or directly, to save his seat. It's gonna be a long, long night, and it's unfolding, and I think everyone is watching to see where this goes.
That's a very good point. And Mr. Yusuf, what if Governor Fubara transfers his allegiance to the APC, because that's been speculated. Some people have said, oh well, he's going to cross over, because again, as you said, it's a matter of whether there's a tiger in there or a mouse. You see what I mean? And it's looking a lot like a mouse, much more so than a tiger. And if he's been browbeaten, and he wants to just say, right, let me just do what I'm, is expected of me, it is possible that he might defect to the APC. Beyond the legal issues, that would make it much easier for him to work with the State Assembly, assuming they go ahead and, in the face of the law, become members of the APC and retain their seats. His cabinet as well, it would make it easier for him, because there's this rumor going around that the whole lot are going to switch over to the APC.
Well, it appeared before the storm came, or the cyclone, whatever the case may be, that was the card to be played. Most likely the leader of the state, former Governor Nyesom Wike, will move with Governor Fubara and the rest. In my own opinion, Governor Fubara moving to APC will not change the potential outcome, because the former Governor Wike has strategically positioned himself with Mr. President, and the outcome of the meeting and the agreement signed tells you a lot about whose position, who has a more strategic advantage than the other, short-term, long-term. And therefore, it will be very difficult for Governor Fubara to get back an advantage, so to speak, in the game, as it were, of thrones. Even if he moves into the APC, because the personality type of his adversary in this case, in this context, former Governor Wike, is different from the personality type of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he had issues with quote-unquote political godsons. The capacity to wait, the strategy of sensing, the personality of Wike is not like that. So even if he moves to APC, I reckon that the conditions precedent to this issue will still be the guiding, forces to determine how he stays in government. So he has one play that is predictable: stay and just continue being a rubber stamp as you were supposed to be. But the issue is this: there is the nerve issue that has been taught of Governor Wiki. And I don't see him as somebody
Yes,
that
I see
will
what you
forgive
mean.
that
Yeah.
and say, you know what,
That's a good
go
point.
and sin no more.
Yeah.
That's not the personality
Yeah.
type of this leader.
Is it
And that is
rather
why-
unforgiving type of
Absolutely, and that's
character,
why
yeah.
I'm saying. And also, the cabinet, as it were. How do you have a governor who, has a cabinet
Yeah.
that will be the tail that will be wagging the dog, and you have a state assembly that will be doing the same? I wonder what that does to the psyche and the emotion and
Yeah.
the mental
That's a very
state
good point.
of mind
Yeah.
of a governor that wants to stay for the
Yeah.
next 3.5 years.
That's a very
that
good
has
point.
a president that has shown him by body language, obviously, that this is how it's going to play out.
That's an interesting angle. And as a consequence of that, Constance, if, as a consequence of that, the people of Rivers State absolutely adamant that that document is unacceptable. What sort of issues? He raised some very important points. What sort of issues is that likely to create? Because you've got the people on one side, you've got the politicians on the other, and then you've got all the sort of the chess, parts moving around. What sort of issues is that likely to cause in terms of the smooth governance of the state? Might it have an impact on how the state is run going forward?
Oh,
to the detriment of the people?
Majorly so. We're going to be seeing a lot of disruption, lack of social cohesion, instability, inability of the governor to focus on what matters, unnecessary distraction from the pressing issues of governance, of state, of what people want, policy differences, because I do not see how, again, he's going to be working with people who are loyal to someone else.
Absolutely.
If this continues. There will be no peace for him, no rest for him. It's going to be fighting every single day. And that's why I think that people of Rivers State are saying, they haven't said it public, but they're saying in other words, Rivers is not Lagos. And when people are astonished that the president went down the way he did, why are you surprised? The president, after 8 years in Lagos, this is 24 years after being governor, still has a stranglehold on the state where he governed. It tells you that the man, has some kind of skills. He understands Nigerian politics, he understands the people, and he has mastered the craft of getting around what he wants. He's not about to change his tactics, his strategies, his modus operandi at this moment. He will continue doing what has worked for him. But still, Lagos is not Rivers. It's very different. These people here in Rivers State, and most of the South or even Southeast State, what is happening in Lagos will not happen in any Southeast state.
It's a much more militant state, isn't it?
Exactly. So I think this fight is going to be rolling on and might explode at some point. But it is sad that the state and the people are going to pay for it. And, what's the way forward when we look at our politics generally? I think that it's high time we begin to create a space to embrace and welcome people of high intelligence that have the capacity to welcome disruptive thinking, new ideas, new thoughts, new policies, and new areas where you can say, it's not only about me. It's not the emotions of limited range of emotions that says, if you're not for me or if you're not with me, you're against me. No, we cannot continue like that in our political system. We have to change that. And if we have any chance of surviving, it has to happen soonest rather than later.
I couldn't agree with you more. We've got 30 seconds. The final word from you.
Well, for the people like Governor Fubara, godfatherism, godson, I think we should be tilting towards mentors-mentee politically. And for those that want to sign up into this agreement, then they should be ready to be binded by that kind of agreement. If you want to have state power and to deliver dividends of democracy, then whether you are a man or woman, you use the cliche, man up to the place and run your race and win your game and deliver. Otherwise, this will become a vicious cycle that will not end up well for whoever goes in to sign up these agreements.
Very impressive analysis from both of you. Thank you very much indeed. Baba Yusuf is a policy strategist, political commentator, and group CEO of the Global Investment and Trade Company. And Dr. Constance Ikokwu is a journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst. Thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja and Port Harcourt. Bye-bye, and thank you for watching. you.